The rain had not stopped for days. It beat relentlessly against the glass walls of James's office, each drop echoing the chaos in his heart. Papers lay scattered across the floor, contracts torn apart. The phone kept ringing, creditors, failures, reminders of a life unraveling. The empire he had built with passion, precision, and sleepless nights was crumbling before his eyes. James sat motionless, staring at the final report that confirmed his worst fear: the investors had withdrawn. Everything he had poured himself into was gone. The man once celebrated for his brilliance now sat in ruins, drowning in silence. Outside, Diep stood by the door, holding a small umbrella that did little to shield her from the storm. Her clothes were soaked, her hair plastered to her face, but she didn't care. She had come, as she always did, when things went wrong. When James finally looked up, his eyes were hollow. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "You don't deserve to see me like this." Diep stepped closer, her voice trembling but steady. "I came because I promised I would stand with you, no matter what happens." He looked away. "There's nothing left, Diep. Everything I worked for is gone. Maybe you should go too." But she didn't. Instead, she reached for his hand. "I didn't fall in love with your company," she whispered. "I fell in love with you, the man who works hard, who cares, who never gives up." "If you fall, I'll help you stand again." The rain softened, as if the world itself paused to listen. Slowly, James's fingers closed around hers. That fragile touch, warm, grounding, reminded him of who he truly was. "You always know what to say," he murmured. "Because I know your heart," she said softly. "And I know it's stronger than this storm." They stood together, broken but unyielding. The world might have turned its back on them, but they still had each other. And that, for now, was enough. When the storm creeps in, days turned into weeks. The financial storm that had destroyed James's company began seeping into their lives. The media attacked him, investors blamed him, old allies turned their backs. But the harshest wound came from whispers that Diep was the reason for his fall. That her presence had distracted him, that she was a burden. Diep bore the rumors in silence. She worked long hours beside James, helping him reorganize files, comforting him through sleepless nights. But when she was alone, she cried quietly, tears she refused to let him see. One rainy evening, while trying to settle an argument between two ex-employees, Diep slipped on the wet pavement. The box of files she carried crashed to the ground. Pain shot up her ankle, but she tried to rise, unwilling to show weakness. When James found her minutes later, she was kneeling in the rain, gathering papers with trembling hands. "Diep," he shouted, running to her. His voice cracked with panic. "Why didn't you call me?" "Because you already have too much to carry," she whispered through tears. Without a word, he lifted her into his arms, fragile, soaked, but impossibly strong. Inside, he bandaged her ankle with shaking hands. "Don't ever hide your pain from me again," he said softly. "I can lose a company. I can lose money. But I can't lose you. I just don't want to be a burden," she murmured. "You're not a burden, Diep. You're the reason I'm still standing." As the rain slowed to a whisper, they sat in silence, the room filled with quiet promises. "We'll rebuild everything," he said at last. "But this time, together," she smiled faintly. Together, rebuilding from the ashes. Morning sunlight slipped through thin curtains, warming their modest apartment. It wasn't the luxurious penthouse they once had, but it was peaceful. James worked tirelessly from dawn till night, his sleeves rolled up, his eyes focused. Failure had humbled him, but not destroyed him. Beside him, Diep moved gently around the room, her ankle still wrapped. She placed a cup of ginger tea beside him. "You haven't eaten," she chided softly. "I will," he said, smiling faintly. "Just need to finish this proposal. If you collapse again," she teased, "your proposal won't mean much." He paused, touched by her concern. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked quietly. "Regret what?" "Staying with me. Through all this." She blinked in surprise. "James, love isn't about staying only when it's easy." "I didn't choose your success. I chose you." He reached out and held her hand, eyes glistening. "You've been hurt so much because of me. Maybe," she smiled faintly. "But being with you taught me what love truly means, not running away when things fall apart, but holding tighter." Her words filled the silence, a truth deeper than comfort. James looked at her, this woman who had faced storms, pain, and humiliation, yet never let go. Small beginnings. That weekend, they went to the village market to sell small handmade crafts, Diep's idea to earn extra money. The morning was slow, but by afternoon, customers began to notice her warmth, her sincerity. "These aren't just things you sell," one customer said. "They have a story." "They do," Diep smiled. "They're made with love and hope." As they walked home under a quiet sunset, James slipped his arm around her shoulders. "Maybe we lost everything," he said, "to learn what really matters." "And what's that?" she asked. You, he smiled. Their laughter floated through the evening air, light, free, defiant. They had been broken, yet somehow, they had learned to shine through the cracks. A new dawn. Months passed. The tiny market stall grew into a small shop, then a partnership, and finally, a new company. This one was built not on ambition but gratitude. Each morning, Diep greeted neighbors with her soft voice and kind smile. Her handmade goods carried stories people could feel. They weren't just buying products, they were buying hope. James handled the business side with newfound humility, drawing from his failures as a CEO. Together, they built something real, grounded in love and resilience. One afternoon, while rearranging shelves, Diep smiled. "Do you remember the day of the storm?" James laughed. "How could I forget? You were soaked, and I kept yelling at you to stay inside." "I thought you were angry," she teased. "I was terrified," he admitted. "Not of the storm, of losing you." She blushed and reached for his hand. "You didn't lose me then. You won't lose me now." Just then, their daughter, little Nhi, ran into the room holding a drawing. "Mommy. Daddy, look, it's our house." They crouched down, smiling at the child's simple picture, a small house, a shining sun, three happy faces hand in hand. "She even drew the shop," Diep whispered. "It's perfect," James said, wrapping his arms around them both. Outside, the same world that had once tried to break them now seemed to bless their quiet perseverance. Every wound, every loss, had led them here, to peace. Love that stands. That evening, the sky turned golden. James stepped outside as Diep wrapped her arms around him from behind. "We've been through so much," she whispered. "There were days I thought we wouldn't make it," he turned, holding her hands. "Me too." "But you never let go, neither did you." Maybe, he thought, falling was what they needed, to learn how to stand again, together. The breeze carried the scent of rain, a reminder of storms that once threatened to tear them apart. Now, they were stronger because of them. Inside, little Nhi's laughter echoed, pure, innocent, healing. "We did it," Diep whispered. He smiled. "No, we're still doing it. Every single day." As the light faded, they stood hand in hand, hearts steady not because love was perfect, but because it was chosen. Again and again. Epilogue. The kind of love that lasts. True love, James and Diep learned, is not a miracle. It's not luck. It's built, piece by piece, with patience, forgiveness, and faith. It glows not only in joy but also in hardship. When two people choose to stay, even when leaving would be easier, that's when love becomes unbreakable. They had fallen. They had been hurt. But through the pain, they found something deeper, something real. Because love, in the end, is not about never falling. It's about always standing up together.